Häagen-Dazs is maybe the most uniquely successful ice cream brand, and most definitely the hardest to spell. I will admit I've probably misspelled it 100 times while making this video, despite seeing that logo for my entire life. I think most of us have. I do not believe I've ever been inside of a grocery store that didn't sell Häagen-Dazs. It is everywhere. The company claims to be the #1 selling ice cream brand in the USA, which is not surprising. They have a long-standing reputation for selling some of the tastiest ice cream on the market. Almost any review or ranking I could find speaks highly of it, especially when it comes to vanilla, which I do think lives up to the hype. I recommend giving it a try if you have not already, but it is kind of a mysterious brand. Everybody knows it, but few people know much about it. Specifically, where it comes from. Häagen-Dazs sounds like it would be some kind of Scandinavian name or phrase, right? I mean, it has that umlaut over the first A, so there's no way it is in English. But in reality, it has nothing to do with Scandinavia, nor does it have any actual meaning in any language. It was made up by a guy in New York, Reuben Mattis, almost 70 years ago. Clearly, this is a story with some unexpected elements, so for this video, I think it would be interesting to talk about the history of this mysterious brand while identifying some of the biggest reasons behind its success. Starting off the list with the Mattis family, and I think there is a lot to respect about them. After his father was killed in World War I, Reuben Mattis, at 7 years old, immigrated from Poland to the United States with his mother and his sister. While living in the Bronx, his mother started a lemon ice business that evolved into an ice cream business. Now, keep in mind, this was around a century ago. They were using horse-drawn wagons to deliver the ice cream to local restaurants, soda shops, and candy stores. In the 1920s, Reuben dropped out of high school to help with the business. In the 1930s, he got married to the woman who became known as Rose Mattis, and she went on to be an important part of the business. Reuben would spend more time creating and selling the ice cream, while Rose handled the business end of the operation, and by the 1940s, refrigerators were way more common. For the first time, they were found in most American homes, which, as you could imagine, caused a surge in demand for ice cream. It was now being sold in most grocery stores, which you might think would be good news for the Mattis family business, but it really made things more complicated, because now that there was so much demand, larger companies were finding ways to mass produce it. It got to a point where there were all of these suppliers trying to scale their operations and cut down on ingredient costs as much as possible so they could sell it at a lower price than anyone else. Those prices were getting so low that the Mattis family simply could not keep up with it, so they had to get creative, leading me to the next reason on my list: high quality. Today, the International Dairy Foods Association recognizes 4 quality levels of ice cream, the highest one being labeled super premium, all one word, categorized by very low overrun, which is like the amount of air inside of it, along with high fat content and some of the best quality ingredients. You know what I'm talking about, that rich and dense ice cream that tends to cost a little more. The most popular super premium brands are Ben & Jerry's and, of course, Häagen-Dazs. They promote high quality, natural ingredients like real milk, sugar, and egg yolks. They use Belgian chocolate and vanilla flavoring that comes from Madagascan vanilla beans. I don't know, you could look up what they use in each specific flavor, but it is generally higher end stuff that is reflected in the taste of the end product. What I think is most impressive about all of this is that they essentially created that category. If you think Häagen-Dazs stands out from the other ice creams today, just imagine how it was back then. With everyone else cutting costs to such an extreme degree, there was some questionable ice cream on the shelves, so Reuben Mattis figured that if you provided a higher quality alternative, some people would be willing to pay extra for it. In his own words, when I came out with Häagen-Dazs, the quality of ice cream had deteriorated to the point where it was just sweet and cold. Ice cream had become cheaper and cheaper, so I just went the opposite way. They started out small with only 3 flavors: vanilla, chocolate, and coffee. You probably thought I was going to say strawberry, but that was not released until 6 years later, because it took them a while to find the right berries and the right recipe that met their standards. So Häagen-Dazs was out there making super premium ice cream before super premium ice cream was really even a thing, but it wasn't enough to simply provide this unique unique product, they also need people to realize that it was unique. People needed to feel like the higher price was justified, and Rose was doing her part by going to the grocery stores to pass out free samples, which was effective. People were experiencing the difference instead of just being told about it. But the biggest part of these efforts was the next reason on my list: branding. Like I said before, it's so crazy. The name Häagen-Dazs is complete nonsense. Reuben came up with it because he wanted people to mistake it for being a fancy imported brand. In his words, we wanted people to take a second look and say, is this imported? See, especially back then, if people thought something was brought over from a different country, they figured there must be something special about it. It was cleverly deceptive because he went so far as to print a map of Denmark on the carton, really trying to create a false impression. Over the years, very little has changed about the brand's image that I would describe as subtle, classy, and trying to convey the quality of the product. Their biggest campaign recently has encouraged people to slow down and take their time to enjoy things. That included their first ever Super Bowl commercial. It featured cast members from the Fast and Furious franchise just slowing things down. Most of what I'm saying here is in direct contrast of Ben & Jerry's, who conveys much more of a colorful, energetic image. So even though the words are completely meaningless, the Häagen-Dazs brand has built a strong reputation for quality that they have continuously promoted from the start. Next up on the list is a bit of a shift from the rest of the video, but corporate owners have been a big part of their success. The Mattis family deserves a lot of credit. They were responsible for building Häagen-Dazs into an impressively large company. Over the course of 23 years, they grew it into a widely known, respected brand with over $100 million in sales each year. But in 1983, it was sold to Pillsbury. Now, we all know them for their cinnamon rolls and cake mixes and whatever else that are promoted by their adorable mascot, but they were actually much larger than you may realize. I have made a video about them before if you want more details, but they were reporting over $3 billion in sales as the owner of multiple consumer brands, including Totino's and Green Giant, as well as multiple restaurant chains, including Burger King. So it's safe to say that Pillsbury definitely had the resources to turn something that was well on its way to becoming a national brand into an international brand. The head of Pillsbury said they decided to buy Häagen-Dazs after considering 8,000 possible targets in the food business, and at the time of the deal, he specifically stated, "Our plans for the company are to grow it." And that is exactly what happened. In a twist of events, Ben & Jerry's, who was still a much smaller emerging competitor, sued Pillsbury 2 times in the 1980s, alleging that they were unfairly trying to keep them out of grocery stores. The claim was that Pillsbury told distributors that they would stop working with them if they kept working with Ben & Jerry's. They even started this whole campaign where the words, "What's the doughboy afraid of?" was printed on cartons, signs, bumper stickers. Suddenly, Häagen-Dazs was positioned as the big corporate brand that was bullying the little guy. In the end, I don't think any of it had too much of an impact for them, but it is interesting how Häagen-Dazs was founded as a scrappy startup challenging the big companies, and now they found themselves on the other end of it. From there, things get a little tricky, but in 1999, Pillsbury teamed up with Nestle, the largest food company in the world, to form Ice Cream Partners USA. It was a joint venture that included Häagen-Dazs and a variety of related brands owned by Nestle, including Drumstick. Not long after, all of Pillsbury was acquired by General Mills, and Nestle paid them for the rights to sell Häagen-Dazs products in the US. So from that point, Nestle has been in charge of things domestically, while General Mills has handled it internationally. Though I should mention that in 2019, a joint venture half owned by Nestle and half owned by a private equity firm became the new owner of those US operations. And as if all of that wasn't enough, I also want to mention that in 2000, Ben & Jerry's was acquired by Unilever, yet another massive and diverse food company, so they too have found themselves on the other end of it. My point here is that both of these brands have benefited from being part of some of the largest conglomerates in the world. Going back to the list, my final reason behind their success is opening shops. Right now, throughout 43 countries around the world, there are over 900 Häagen-Dazs ice cream shops. Some of them are simply kiosks or small stands, while others include full table service with waiters and menus. Many of them are in shopping malls, and almost all of them are franchised. The first one was actually opened by Reuben and Rose's daughter Doris in 1976, who served as the head of their franchising operations for many years. There was already almost 250 of them when it was sold to Pillsbury, helping to promote the brand, providing more outlets for people to find it, and offering more creative ways to eat it, including sundaes and milkshakes. They have usually around 20 to 30 different flavors in addition to limited time or seasonal offerings that keep the menu fresh. So even though they don't own the shops, I would say that they are still a good complement to their core operations. Much like everything else, it can get a little pricey, but here we are, 50 years into the concept, and people continue to look forward to it as part of their trip to the mall. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Häagen-Dazs? I cannot imagine many people actively dislike the ice cream, but is it worth the extra money, and does it stand out from Ben & Jerry's or any of the other competitors that have emerged? I am also interested to hear your thoughts about the story behind it, specifically the Mattis family and their decisions regarding the brand. And finally, this is a fun topic, so I want to ask, what is your favorite flavor? Because there are dozens to choose from at this point. I usually gravitate toward chocolate, but I am open to new ideas. And finally, do you agree with my reasons behind their success, or do you think something should be added or subtracted from it? There are a lot of parts to it, so I'm curious to hear what you think about that. And any other thoughts you have about Häagen-Dazs or anything else in this video, leave them in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Take your sweet time. That's Dazs.
Thank you for watching.